I read your file, Commander. 3 times.
And now?
Now I think the file was missing the most important part.
She had read his file 3 times before she ever met him in person. Commander Rael Voss. Human. Age 37. 15 years of active service across 6 conflict zones. 32 confirmed engagements. 0 surrenders. The file was precise, clinical, and entirely inadequate, because nothing in it had prepared Princess Zyra of the Vael Collective for the moment she actually walked into the medical bay of the Ardent Star and saw what 15 years of war had left behind. He was sitting on the examination bed with the practiced stillness of someone who had spent a great deal of time waiting in rooms like this one. Shirtless because the diagnostic system required it. His arms rested on his thighs. His eyes were on the middle distance, not looking at anything, not looking away from anything either. Just existing in the quiet way that soldiers learn to exist when the fighting is not currently happening. Zyra stopped in the doorway. The scars began at his collarbone and did not stop. "You're early," Rael said without turning his head. "The Alliance briefing isn't for another hour." "I know," Zyra said. She stepped inside. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. "I requested a medical review of your status before the council meeting. Standard Vael protocol for co-command assessment. And I was not expecting," she paused. Among her people, it was considered poor form to speak of physical damage directly. But she had spent 3 years studying human diplomatic customs, and humans, she had learned, appreciated directness. "I was not expecting the extent of it." Rael glanced down at himself as if he had momentarily forgotten. Then he looked back up. 15 years, he said simply. "Yes," Zyra said. "But the file said 15 years. It did not say this." She moved closer, not to examine him. She was not here as his physician, but because something pulled her forward that she could not immediately name. The scars were not random. That was the thing she had not expected. A body marked by accident or ambush looked different from this. These scars had a logic to them. Pattern. The marks of someone who had been in the center of things again and again, and had survived by the smallest available margin again and again, until the margins had accumulated into this map of narrow escapes written permanently across his skin. "The Siege of Verath," she said quietly, pointing to a long diagonal mark across his left shoulder. Not a question. Rael looked at her properly for the first time. "You know Verath. Every military historian in the collective knows Verath," she said. 48 hours. 1 human battalion. Against the entire 3rd Occupation Fleet. Pause. "We were told there were no survivors." "There was one," Rael said. Zyra stood very still. She had grown up hearing the legends. Her people had been observing humanity from a distance for decades before the First Contact Accords. Watching, cataloging, debating whether a species so perpetually at war with itself could ever be a viable ally. The debates had been long. The skeptics had been many. Even Zyra's own father, the High Consul of the Vael Collective, had argued for another century of observation before any formal engagement. Then the Verath transmission had reached them. 1 human. 48 hours. A fleet that had broken 6 other species in the previous decade. And at the end of it, a voice on the emergency frequency, calm as still water, reporting the engagement concluded and requesting extraction. She had been 12 years old. She still remembered where she was when her tutor had played the transmission. "That was you," she said. It was not a question either. "That was a long time ago," Rael said. "It changed our policy," Zyra said. "My father presented it to the High Council as evidence. That humans were different. That the calculus of human survival did not follow conventional models." She met his eyes. "You are the reason we are here. This alliance. A ship. This meeting. Rael was quiet for a moment. The medical bay hummed softly around them, the diagnostic system tracking his vitals, the screens casting pale blue light across the walls. "I didn't know that," he said finally. "Most humans don't," Zyra replied. "We kept our observation records classified until the accords were signed." She looked at the scars again, not with pity, she realized, with something closer to comprehension. This was what the transmission had looked like from the inside. This was the cost of the data point that had changed the course of her civilization's foreign policy. Does it cause you pain?" "Still. Some mornings," he said. Then after a pause, "Less than it used to." She nodded slowly. Among the Vael, the body healed completely or it was repaired completely. They had the technology for both. The concept of carrying permanent physical evidence of past damage was not something her people practiced. But looking at Rael now, she thought she understood something about it. There was a kind of record-keeping in it. A refusal to pretend the past had not happened. "In the collective," she said, "we have a word. Verath means roughly the weight that makes you trustworthy. The history that proves you will not break, because you have already been broken and you are still here." Rael looked at her for a long moment. "We don't have a word for that," he said. "No," Zyra agreed. "But you have the thing itself." She straightened, pulling her uniform jacket smooth, a reflex. "The council will want to know if you are physically cleared for co-command." "And what will you tell them?" She met his eyes. Amber against weathered brown. Alien against human. The weight of Karath and everything that had come after it, sitting quietly in the space between them. "I will tell them," Zyra said, "that Commander Voss is the most qualified individual on this ship." She turned and walked toward the door. Behind her, she heard him exhale, slow, deliberate, the breath of a man who had been carrying something for a very long time, and had just for one moment set it down. The door opened. The corridor beyond was bright and clean and full of the ordinary business of a ship preparing for war. Zyra walked into it, and for the first time since boarding the Ardent star, she was not afraid of what was coming. She had seen the proof, written in 15 years of scars, that some things survived everything. That was enough.